Hey everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if you're blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. Dave and I saw an opportunity to help others who are considering starting their own companies through this journey and to help them get their company up and off the ground. That's the whole premise of this show, is to guide you through the self-employment journey and make that transition from employee to self-employed. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me as always is David Hilton.
Mitch, buddy.
Dave.
What's up? It's just
buddy.
me and you.
I
We've
know.
been knocking all these guest shows out, and it's like, okay, it's just us. We're back to normal.
It's us.
Us and Marcus.
Good bottle of bourbon.
What's up, everybody?
We got Marcus back there.
We love Marcus. We always say that, and I look up, and he's on his phone.
Yeah.
Well, I got to see what's going on with my Chiefs, so
Yeah.
I just got rid of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we lost Tyreek Hill today.
We're filming the show yesterday, actually.
When we got here, so I got here a little early, and Marcus had already set everything up, and there's a bed in the other room, and he's laid up there, curled up in the fetal position, crying because he was pretty upset about it. He was pretty mad.
I'm like in the minority going, I'm not going to miss him that much.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
stuck in the middle. I don't know if
Yeah.
they make a bunch of good picks. Yeah, but dude, he was
Good, don't get me
the
wrong.
fastest NFL player ever.
If we want to start a sports podcast, we could just go ahead and.
We're not going
I-
to get
We're
into
gonna get back on
sports.
top.
We're
I'm
not
just
going to get
gonna
into
say,
sports today, but
Did you
it's-
see pics of Hill out in Hawaii at Mahomes' wedding?
I didn't. He
You
didn't.
didn't? Right.
No.
I don't think he was that good of friends with a lot of people on the team. I think I'm not going to say he was cancerous,
He wasn't cancerous.
but I don't think he melded well with
Don't
the
get me
team like
riled
a lot
up.
of
He's
the
going to
other
get me
guys.
riled up.
He's gonna get me riled up. Let's get back to topic.
The
real
Void
Okay.
Sports Edition.
Yeah, the Void Sports Edition. We lost Tyreek Hill, and people are pissed.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So this show is going to be another random fire show where Marcus grabs a whole bunch of topics off this endless list of show topics that we have, and we don't know what Marcus is going to ask us about, but Marcus is going to ask us a random question or talk about a random show topic, and you're going to get David and I's raw and unfiltered.
He might be writing down
Responses.
like ideas he wants to ask about right now.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know what
Like
he's gonna ask.
never know.
Marcus
haven't
could be
looked
like,
at the
how do I
list.
tell my boss I want to quit my job?
Here's the better question.
How do I tell Mitch Smedley he's a giant douche?
Which one of you guys are first? Which one's gonna?
We
think?
don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Just ask a question. What do you got?
Here's the first question.
List one off. What do you got?
Retirement for your employees. How do you do that? Maybe guest related.
I wrote that because
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to have a guest about it,
Right.
and I'm not going to answer that question because I know
The
Mitch just signed up his guys for retirement.
Yeah.
What did you do? What
What was the
process?
process?
So
did
you
do?
got a couple of different options. You can do a traditional 401k for your people,
Yeah.
and that's going to take. It's a little bit more difficult of a process as an employer.
Yeah, for the guys it doesn't matter.
For the guys, they don't care, right? They're signing up, and your employees are gonna contribute X amount of their salary or their annual earnings or whatever. But a traditional 401k has some different rule breaks as far as like the owners of the company they can be subjected to different rules than the rest of the employees. And what I mean by that is like your company rule could be like we match 50 cents on the dollar up to 5% of your annual salary, unless you're an owner of the company or a principal of the company, and then that could be dollar for dollar up to 5% of your salary or something. Like you can actually have rules change there at a certain level. Some of the retirement options also change on a traditional 401k versus like what we did in our company. We did a simple IRA. So with a simple IRA, everybody plays by the same rules. So my match, as the owner of the company, my match is the same as my employee's match is. But then also the company only, and this may change state by state, I don't know. For us, we were only given two options for the types of contributions people could make. So one option was we match dollar for dollar up to 3% of the employee's salary.
Regardless of what they put in?
No. This was we match dollar for dollar up to 3%, but they had to put in 3 for us to match 3.
Gotcha.
Okay. The other was we chose to put in so much up to, I think, 2%. Like we could choose to put in 2% of the employee's salary regardless of how much they put in. They could put in nothing, and we're still putting in 2%.
Oh, you can still put some in.
Right. And so
Lots of companies aren't going to do that.
yeah, so again, those two options there were on the simple IRA.
On a simple IRA, what's the when do your employees become vested?
So on a simple, there is 0 vesting.
Okay.
And
So once they fire it up, that's it.
once they fire it up, that's it, and they can start almost immediately. So the rule is kind of weird. The rule was if you anticipate the employee to make more than $5,000 in a certain time frame, which was like 6 months or something. It was a long way out. But if you anticipate the employee to make more than $5,000 in 6 months, then they can start with the IRA. And then they're fully vested from the get-go. So that's one of the drawbacks of a simple is on a traditional
They
401k.
could come in, work for you 6 months, and that's just money out the door.
And then they got 3%
Because
of
you're
the,
investing in that employee,
Right.
is what you're doing. You're trying to get them to stick around.
Yeah. So that's one of the perks of a traditional 401k.
Yeah.
Is you can set
You
a
can set the
vesting
scale.
schedule.
Yeah, you can set the
And you
scale.
can basically encourage your guys. A lot of people set it up like 20% every year, and then after the end of 5 years, you're 100%.
You mean 2% every year?
No, like 20% vested every year.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
at the end of 5
I
years,
thought you meant
they're-
like it went up by that increment every year.
No,
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
like so at the end of the 5-year term, now they're fully vested,
Gotcha.
and they do that because they're trying to get their employees to stick around for 5 years.
Yeah. Well, and they're trying to have a way to get some of that money back if they do just blow out the door.
Right.
And they've only been there 2 years.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Is the max amount of money, so if I'm self-employed and I start my own IRA, the most I can put in it is $6,000 a year.
Right.
If you are on if you're on your boss's plan, is that max the same, or is it more like a 401k where you can put like I think it's like 22 now or 20,000 a year in there?
Yeah. So ours was. I'm going to be a little vague on the numbers here. I want to say it was like 14,000. Was somewhere around 14 was the max for the employee.
Okay.
That does not include the employer's
No,
contribution
it's
on
theirs.
top of that.
It's
the
their
employee's
tax deduction max.
Yep.
No,
but
I
then
shouldn't say
if-
tax deduction because it's not. It's what the number
pre-tax
is.
contribution
Yes.
is what you're meaning to say.
Yes, thank you.
If you were over 50, then that number jumped up a couple $1,000s.
Yeah,
So
you're in
basically,
catch-up. You're
yeah,
in
they're
catch-up
letting the people that are on the farther end of the runway contribute a little bit more.
So it's different than your own IRA if you made it.
Correct.
If you do it through an employer.
correct.
So another question, one more.
Yeah.
So since you are doing the simple IRA,
Mm-hmm.
if you say you were to balloon out and grow big and have 25 employees, can you go to a 401k? Or
Yes.
do you have to start everybody over?
No, we can. Anytime you're going to sign up with anything like that, there are some rules, and it's going to be different per program, but there are some rules, basically some notification timelines that you have to give your guys. So, like, we could change the amount of match we're doing. We could do right now it was matching up to dollar for dollar up to 3% of their annual salary, right? Well, if I wanted to change that dollar for dollar up to 2.5%, I could do it, but I got to like give everybody notification in writing, and it's got to be like 60 or 80 or like 60 or 120 days or some weird number.
Yeah.
But there's just some rules that you have to play by. So the person that is setting up all of that retirement stuff, you'd want to chat with them about it. I'm fortunate that my dad is a farmer's insurance agent, and he also does a little bit in the financial services department. It's not his mega forte, but
But he was able to help you out and get you cleared up.
he's our guy that's doing it. And it was, so it makes it a little bit easier because I can call him up at 7:30 at night when I get home and be like, "Hey, Dad,
Yeah.
how do we do this?" Like one of my guys asked this. How do I
Yeah.
do it? It just makes it a little bit easier.
And
It
as-
doesn't change any, like it doesn't give me any discounts or anything. It
No.
doesn't help me in
he's
any
just
way that way.
He's just setting it up for you.
Yeah.
and then you're paying just like anyone else would.
Yeah.
So as far as my answer for that question is, how do you do it? There's a tons of ways you can do it. You can go through an insurance agency like Farmers.
Yep.
You can call Fisher Investments. You can go into your local like Edward Jones.
Yep.
You can just call them and make an appointment. They do not charge you to go in there and sit down and talk about taking your money.
Yeah.
Okay, they are extremely helpful. They want you to come in there and get it set up. So if you're thinking about doing it, just go in, have a consultation. Don't go with the first guy. Talk to 3 or 4 people. It's all free, and then decide what you want to do.
And there's no real, there's some costs to it. Like I have some costs as the business to it.
Well, you're talking costs in addition to putting money into their deal.
In addition to their contributions.
But it's not a ton of money.
It's not a ton of money. So
money.
when you're chatting with people about it, you're wanting, like, it's not like there's going to be a guy that saves you more money than another guy. You're basically chatting with people to try to learn, okay, who's going to be the easiest to walk me through this process? Whose personality am I going to jive with the most?
Yeah, and when you go into places like that, let's be honest, some of those guys are pretty arrogant, don't want to talk to you. Don't use that guy. Mm-hmm. Go to the next guy. Okay, we talk about this in a ton of episodes about be comfortable with who you're doing business with.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really just common sense 101.
Yeah,
and don't be afraid to go to don't be afraid to go to a financial advisor and ask stupid questions.
Yeah.
Your son and I were talking about this earlier. Don't care what anyone else thinks about you.
Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to do right by your guys and your business.
Yep.
Who cares what they think? Yes, some of the questions you have are stupid, and it may not be stupidity. It may just be ignorance because you don't know.
Right.
That doesn't mean don't ask the questions.
Right.
Just go in there and ask the questions and get it set up if you're thinking about doing it.
And that's probably one area that's gotten me pretty far in business is being willing to ask questions. And I'll preface it with, look, I'm really ignorant in this area, so forgive me if I'm not using the right terms, but like, how does this happen? Or how does this thing work? Or, whatever the case may be. And you just tell them that up front. And all of it's like it lowers their guard a little bit. And now that arrogant guy is not going to be so arrogant with you. He's actually going to
He may think about it for a second.
Yeah, he's going to come down and be like, all right, this guy's dropping his guard. Let me drop mine a little bit. And help him
when
out.
you live like where we live in the middle of the country, people are nice. You don't think you're just going to go in there and they're just going to light you up for being an idiot.
Yeah.
It's not the East Coast. Did I say that?
They're
all assholes out there. I don't understand. But just, don't be afraid to ask the questions.
Right.
We probably drug that question out a little bit, but
that's all right.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. So like on that IRA topic, it's pretty normal for businesses to, like if you go work somewhere, sometimes you're not even eligible to get into the 401k. Like a pretty common thing.
You're talking about from the employee side.
Yeah, as an employee. So put yourself in your employee's shoes here for a second. Most places you work, that business is only going to have 2 buy-ins a year. So there's 2 dates per year where people can get into the 401k.
Big. Lots of them do it once a year we do it.
Right. And so like I worked at a place that had about 120 employees, and it was January 1st and July 1st. Those were, you had to be an employee for a full year before January 1st. And so like
a full year before July 1st?
Before July 1st,
okay.
Right? So like if you started in a February, you weren't going to get the January deadline. So you had to work there for a full year and then wait till July 1st to get into the 401k.
Yeah.
Or if you started in December, then you could work your full year and then you were in before January 1st, so then you could get in kind of a little bit earlier. But that's pretty common too. So don't think that like you have to have 401k ready to roll for your first employee.
No.
Like think about it like you need 401k ready to roll after your first employee has been there for a year. And that was my deadline. Like I knew I had a rolling 1-year deadline to get retirement set up from the 1 year that we hired our first guy. And so that's the metric we used, and we got it in about 2 months early, which is kind of cool. So
and don't think that just because you have one employee, say your wife is an employee and you're an employee, and then you have your one employee, you can still start one. Don't think, I gotta be big, I gotta have 5, I gotta have 10. No, you can do it right away.
Yep.
If you have ambition to do that and have the money, which you should, to do that, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
The sooner you get started, the easier it is to add employees later.
It's not as much of a benefit for me as an employer without employees. So like let me preface that.
You mean
before I hired people.
You mean what your IRA would be?
Yeah, so like before I hired people and it was just me and my wife.
It actually hurts you.
Doing a 401k would hurt me, right?
Well, no, I mean, if you have one employee, it hurts you versus if you have no employees. If you literally have no employees, no wife, no kids, no nothing, the cap, look, you'd have to talk to your financial advisor, but I'm pretty sure the cap, instead of being 15 or 20,000, is like 45. But that's a whole nother show that we could talk about.
And like also, when it's just you and your one employee and you're building a business for growth, at that moment, your money is not best spent in a retirement account. At that moment, your money is best spent reinvesting it into the business and getting the business prepared to add more employees.
As far as the business is concerned. And that's a double-edged sword because it's easy. Let's be honest. It's easier to get employees when you automatically offer that simple IRA out of the gate.
Exactly.
So if you are small and you say you have 3 guys and you need 5 and you have started that simple IRA, like, you can go out there and be like, dude, you don't have to wait to be vested. We're going to vest you right now.
Right.
And if you want to come on. So, I mean, there's balance there.
Yep.
Depending on what you want to do.
Yeah. It's just, you don't want to be, if you're a shop of one or even one and your spouse, it may not be the best option for you to do it yet. Right. But if you're a shop that's planning to grow, then get all that stuff in the works. And then once you start adding people, then go.
And you could start it and not have one for you and your wife too. You could take, instead of giving yourself those retirement funds, you could just invest those and then just be paying for your one guy. You could do that too.
Yep. I mean, I'm the owner of the company, so I'm the owner of that whole retirement policy, right? But at the same token, I'm also, on another sheet of paper, I'm an employee of the company.
Yeah.
That's like signed up to contribute myself, and then the company matches my contribution too. So
yeah, and we've talked about that in previous episodes about, look, you own the company, but you're still an employee.
Yeah.
You're not. We've talked about taking members' draws, and doing it that way, but it's better for you if you can get a paycheck.
Yeah.
If you can get that paycheck where Social Security's coming out,
mm-hmm.
where retirement's coming out, insurance is coming out, if you can set it up so that you're getting that paycheck, that's the smart way to do it.
Yep, that's how we do it.
Next question.
Oh, wait, one more thing on the employees. If you are an employee and you go to a place and they say, hey, it's going to be a year, but you want to start investing right away, start your own simple IRA or your own Roth, and go ahead and put that money in there right away.
Exactly.
I meant to say that earlier and I forgot.
Yeah, you can do a Roth.
Yes.
Like you yourself can go to a financial person and do a Roth.
All your guys could have a Roth.
Yep.
And they could do their $14,000 a year match and then put $6,000 in a Roth on top of that.
Yep.
So you're at $20,000. And if Marcus is not doing that, we're going to have a talk with him after the show.
Oh shit.
Now just to clarify, so a simple IRA and a 401k is pre-tax contributions. You're taking a portion of your gross earnings and investing those.
Yeah, so you're not paying taxes on those until you pull them out later.
Right.
At retirement.
Right. So you're going to pay tax in the future when you retire.
Yes.
A Roth IRA, you pay tax on the money and then you take your post-tax money
and put it
and deposit it, right? And invest it. Well, then when you take that money out because you've already paid tax on it, for one, there's no retirement age requirement. You can take that money out whenever you want. But for two,
are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay.
They may have like a small fee. It's not a penalty. It's like
a fee.
They may have like a $50 fee to make a withdrawal or something like that. But for two, a Roth IRA, the benefit of a Roth is you're banking on the idea that taxes in the future will be higher than they are today.
Yes.
And so it's smarter to save post-tax money today at today's tax rates rather than in the future.
Yeah. So, the only problem with that is the stupid government caps that at $6,000 a year.
Correct.
So if you're planning on doing that, I mean, it's hard.
It's hard. You're not going to save a boatload, and
you do that in addition to.
Yep.
And I get this question all the time from people. Hey, man, so I work at a place or I own my own small business, and they don't offer it.
Yeah, just do a Roth.
Do a Roth, but listen, do a Roth and do something else. Do stock index funds, do ETFs, do something, because that $6,000 a year is not going to be enough when you get older.
Yep.
And listen, we are not fiduciaries.
Yeah.
We are not financial advisors.
Yep.
Before you do anything like going on Robinhood and spending 50 grand in an ETF, you need to talk to
EFT.
someone. What did I say?
ETF.
Oh, did I? I think it is ETF.
EFT.
Well, you just look it up. See,
Marcus will tell you.
See what I mean? But you need to talk to someone about the tax implications. You need to talk to someone that knows what they're doing before you just take our advice and just say, hey, well, Dave and Mitch told me to spend $100,000.
Yeah.
Talk to someone.
Yep.
Okay, that's licensed.
Yep.
Alrighty.
We beat that one to death.
That was really long-winded.
So, Marcus, are you matching your match? Are you putting the most in there yet?
I told.
What's the answer, buddy? This is real personal.
Sure,
on the internet, going right out to everybody.
Next question.
He hasn't told his wife yet.
He's contributing.
Good.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's okay to be successful. You're not a fraud. You deserve it.
Yeah. This is mine.
Of course, it's
So
yours.
since that,
what was the question? Say it one more time.
it's okay to be successful. You're not a fraud. You deserve it.
So the premise for that.
What is the question?
Yeah. The premise is
I'm just
when you start a business.
I got you. That's
And
why
you
I'm
start-
asking, making an answer.
Yeah. When you start a business and you follow all the right rules. So like, when.
So you talking about self-doubt when you start making serious money?
No.
Or guilt when you start making
Guilt.
a ton of money?
Right. Guilt, more or less. But not guilt off of your gross earnings. Like we talked about in one of the previous episodes about how you'll pay yourself if as a new LLC, you're going to take an owner's draw and you're going to want to, like, let's say you want to pay yourself $1,000 a week. You're actually going to owner's draw $1,300 a week, 30% over.
Yeah.
And then once that money lands into your personal account, you're going to move that 30% overage into a tax savings account, a personal tax savings account.
Yeah.
And all that. So when you're doing everything by the book and that bank account starts growing, it's very easy to feel like a fraud.
It's easy to feel guilty about your success.
Yes.
Because you've been your whole work life, if you started later or whatever, you've been kind of down here at this level and now you're up here, but you're doing the same amount of work or the same style of work. It is easy to feel guilty about what you've done. Profit is not a dirty word.
No.
You're in business to make profit.
Mm-hmm.
What does profit do? It allows you to hire employees. When you hire employees, what are you doing? You're creating jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You're being a plus in the economy. Okay?
You're also involving yourself in the community. Like, what better way to involve yourself in the community
Yeah.
than help somebody earn a living?
Yeah. When you're I'm going to take a Donald Trump thing here. When you're paying taxes and paying a lot of taxes, that tax money went to make the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right.
Okay? Do not feel guilty.
Right.
Feel empowered that you have got off the ground, that you have created these jobs, that you've been successful, and that you've risen above the bullshit that you were trying to get out of before.
Yeah.
There's no reason to feel guilty. And people do. A lot of people do. Some of the ladies we've had on their shows aren't out. I don't know if this show's going to be out before theirs or whatever, but they've talked a little bit about just off camera those certain things about, I'm successful. I don't know if it's more prone in women or if guys just hide it better. I'd say guys probably hide it better. That's all. But do not feel guilty about being successful. Take it and run with it.
I felt guilty. So I set this crazy goal. Like, keep in mind, I didn't know what, like, I had realistic expectations and then I had goals, right? And so when we started ours, I had a realistic expectation that I could pay myself as little as possible and that I could pay back all of our startup expenses in 5 months. But then I set like a goal of like, let me try to do it in 3 months. Well, I did it.
What was that called again?
A BHAG.
A BHAG.
Big hairy ass goal.
A BHAG goal.
Yeah. So I did it, right? And this was right about the time that we were firing our first accountant and picking up our new accountant. And so I'm sitting in that new accountant's office, and we had paid off like
Yeah.
Startup costs are paid
Yeah.
off. And
We've talked about this.
Yeah, and I'm sitting in his office and I'm like, what do we do now? Like that was all the farther I was thinking was like pay the startup cost off, pay the startup and I mean I had in the back of my mind I had longer term visions, right? But I was so focused on paying those startup cost off. And he's looking over everything and he's looking at what I'm paying myself and he's looking at how much work we've done and how hard I've worked and everything else. And he's like, you're gonna burn yourself out unless you pay yourself more. Like you're paying yourself less than you've made for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And you're doing so much more work than you've done in a lot of years. And I'm like, yeah, but look how successful the business is doing, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
so
I get it.
You were feeling guilty.
Yeah,
you
I was
didn't
feeling
want to
guilty.
write yourself that check.
Right, I didn't want to pay
You were
my
like,
yeah.
I want this to be in the business.
Yeah.
Is like you're trying to hold you were trying to hold yourself accountable.
Right. And so
You know?
I needed a new truck, like we've talked about on the show before.
Is this when you were driving the Danger Ranger?
Yeah, this is when I had my 98 Ford Ranger.
The Danger Ranger.
With no power windows, no
Yeah.
nothing, right? No AC.
I've almost crashed more than one of those. They're so light. They just,
It's the
driving down the
scariest
road.
vehicle ever to drive in the snow.
Other than a Prius. Yes.
The
100% correct.
and so I'm sitting in his office and he's like, is there anything you want? Like you need to treat yourself to something. And I said, well, I've been eyeballing a new truck. I've actually been eyeballing a new truck for a long time, but I didn't like how, if I'm going to spend this much money on a truck, I wanted it to have like under 75,000 miles and I wanted it to be a 2015 or newer. And this is like 2020.
I was going to say it was 2020.
The
right?
end of 2020. So it's 5 years old, right? Like, and I'm haggling about buying a 5-year-old truck.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of people would just go straight to the dealer and be like, give me the 2020.
Yeah. I never buy new trucks.
Right.
But that's just.
And I'm like, I wanted to have all these options and everything else. Cause again, if I'm going to spend all this money, I want it to have a sunroof. I want it to have all this stuff. And he's like, well, why don't you just go do it? And I'm like, because every time I find one around here, it's $43,000 or more, and I don't want to spend more than $35,000. And he goes, okay, well, like when you find one for $35,000, you should go buy it. Like you've earned it. You should go buy it. And I said, well, ironically, I found one, but it's in New Jersey, and we're in Kansas City. I'm like, it's in New Jersey, and the guy's trading it in like 4 days, and he's just trying to sell it for more than he's going to get in a trade-in 4 days. And he's like, well, let's look at it. So we jump online and look at it real quick. And he's like, you should fly out there and go buy it. He's like, you've earned it. You should do that. You're going to burn yourself out unless you do that. And I've seen what you drive.
Yeah.
So,
So the whole time, basically what he's telling you is, you drive a piece of shit,
Yeah.
and you should get something nice.
Yeah, and
because
so
you look like a loser.
You're driving an $800 truck, right? And so I call my wife as I'm leaving his office. I'm like, Charles said we should go buy that truck. And she's like, I've been telling you that forever. You need to go buy that. So like people had to convince me to go buy a 5-year-old truck. This truck had like 80,000 miles on it. That was the only thing that was outside of my little list of things.
Yeah.
But like people had to convince me to go buy an 80,000 mile 5-year-old truck. I was so guilty about the success. I had the money. Like we were successful enough. I had the money to do it. But I still didn't want to go, like, I didn't want to come off as being a show off. I didn't want to come off as like, oh, all the success went to his head or anything else.
Yeah.
Like,
You were being humble about it.
Yeah, it was a responsible, choice. But it's very real because just like you said, you've worked for years and years and years making wages. And now that you're on the other side of things and you're assuming the risk of owning the company and figuring out how to get the customers and how to pay the taxes and how to do the insurance and everything, you're going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
You're going to feel guilty at first. It's a little bit to get used to.
Yeah.
The one thing I would caution
It's
everybody...
a head trip for sure.
Yeah. The one thing I would caution everybody on is don't spend it.
At first.
Right. Like
get your mind right first.
Get your mind right. Get used to that kind of money coming in. And then before you start spending it on yourself, learn how to reinvest it into the business so that you can be working yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Right? Get the business to be a little bit more automated so that, like, if you spend all that money, you busted your ass and you went crazy for a couple of months and now you've got enough money in the bank to go buy a truck with cash, right? Well, if you spend all that money on that and you didn't invest anything back into the business or create some automation with it, now you're back over at square one.
Yeah.
You're out of money. You have a truck. And you're still having to go to work every day and grind it out every day and do all the things every day, right? Well,
Yeah.
Pause for a minute. reinvest in the company, try to work about, getting employees, getting other people to help do the thing for you. And that way you can slowly be working yourself into a position where you don't have to put in the 70 and 80 hour weeks
to be successful.
To be successful, right.
When it's weird. So like if you weren't a manager, not you, just in general, if you weren't the manager of a company, if you weren't doing any of the finances or any of the accounting, you're not used to seeing what I call it big numbers. You're not used to seeing big numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, and it can go one of two ways. You're not used to seeing that, and then you start out your company and it takes off, and all of a sudden you look at that checking account and it says $100,000. It goes one of two ways. You either lock up because you're afraid to spend it and you do the responsible thing and you save that money, or on the other side, you think you're rich.
Yeah.
Okay? Say you didn't do what we said and you're not putting part of that money in for taxes. And I've literally seen people do this. They think that money's theirs and they go out and just freaking spend it.
Yeah.
And I know this is a little off of what the actual question was, but don't do that either.
Yeah, they go buy a nice car with cash and wasted all their money.
Yeah, and then if something does happen and you go downhill a little ways, you might be in trouble now.
Right.
Okay, so
or the tax man comes
and
for
says,
his tax on that $100,000 of profit.
hey, where's my $33,000, bud?
Right.
And you're like, oh.
It's in the parking lot.
Oh, shit.
It's got some 20-inch rims on it.
And my point with saying that is people have money shock.
Yeah.
When you're not used to seeing those big numbers come in, and you're not used to looking at the balance sheet, and at the bottom it says, "Oh, we brought in $1.5 million." It goes one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
You either fuck it up, or you're smart about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't let that money shock dictate your decision.
And that may be...
Take time, and if you have to talk to your accountant, say, "Hey, dude, okay, I'm seeing this, and I say you want that money, okay? Mm-hmm. Say you think that money's yours. Go to him and say, or her, and say, hey,
is this mine?
I have this. I'm seeing this. I want to do X with it. Am I missing something?
Yeah.
What can I do with this?" He's going to say, "Look, okay, this is what's happened. You have these bills that are still outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Your tax implications after you pay those bills are going to be this. This is more." He's going to write down a number. This is going to be more realistic. It's not 1.5 million. It's 125,000.
Right.
And that all the now all of a sudden you're seeing real life what's going on.
And at the level of the listeners of our show, let's assume your first year out of the gate, you're not going to do 1.
He doesn't mean smart or anything like that.
No.
You're new in business.
Yeah, you're self-employed. Your first year in business, or your first year and a half in business, or whatever the case may be. You're not doing 1.5 million, most likely.
Dude, things happen.
I know.
Things happen.
I mean, you could do a high material job where you're doing 1.5, but like
if you're in commercial, you could have that number just like that.
Realistically, you could be in a position where you're used to making 80 to 100 grand a year, and now you're going to go start your own company, and 6 months in, you've been paying yourself a nice salary, and all of a sudden, here is 60 or 80 grand extra in the bank, and you're 6 months in.
Yeah.
And you're going, whoa, so
don't have money shock.
That's that fraudulent feeling that you can get. You're almost going to be like, is this real? Like, I almost feel like I'm cheating, or I feel like I'm doing something illegal, because it seems, and this is the benefit of prep work. Like, you've done all the prep work and everything else. So at that point where you're seeing that, it almost seems easy, but it's because you're finally getting a chance to reap the rewards of so much prep work early on.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. Solid question.
People feel stuff about that.
Yep.
It's just what it is.
Let's pause real quick and remind everybody that if you like what you're hearing on the show, and if the show is teaching you something new, or if it's bringing value to you, do us a favor and share this show with somebody else who might be wanting to start their own company.
Do it right now.
Do it right now. Like, that's a good point. Pull your phone out.
Yeah, takes 2 seconds.
Whatever you're listening, whatever platform you're listening
Send
to
it
this
to a
on,
friend of yours.
Literally pull your phone out right now, hit the share button, and text it to one person that you know, that is also wanting to start their own company.
If one of my friends is watching this show and they send it to me, I'm gonna be really pissed.
Oh, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it.
Hey, Dave, you you need to be watching this show.
That would be freaking hilarious if they actually share a link to me.
My friend Dustin would probably do it.
Yeah,
he's a shit.
That would be freaking hilarious. Hey, I was told to share this with a friend. Here you go.
Here you go.
That'd be funny. So,
oh my goodness.
But
Marcus,
yeah, guys, that's how we grow the show, is by shares. So please do us a favor and share it. And then also,
do we have more questions? We got another question.
Oh yeah, we got one more.
You got one more?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got time.
Also, give us a
we got time.
Give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. If that's YouTube, YouTube would be a thumbs up on this episode.
Yeah, hit that notification.
Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. I think we've earned it.
Oh yeah,
I know we've earned it. Yeah. So,
all right, Marcus, what do you got?
Value.
What do you got?
Okay. What type of credit card machine or software do you use?
Oh.
And then here's my last part to that. Without being long-winded.
Go ahead. Are you telling us?
No, I'm telling you guys.
You some bitch.
He's trying to cap us on the length
I'll
of
go
the show
first.
here. Yep.
So when I first started out, I used Square.
Yep.
When Square was big, because I could literally, that was my first business in all transparency was 10 years ago.
Yep.
So I had a Square. It plugged right into your headphone jack. Easy peasy. Now, after I quit using the Square, I used PayPal.
Yep.
So,
and I didn't. Is it just user friendly or?
Well, when PayPal started, they didn't have card readers, and then they came into card readers.
They didn't. But what I would do is I used PayPal, and they have a business page that you can use. Okay. So what I would do is literally at the customer's home, I would enter their email, and I would email them a bill right there, and then they could. I thought it was going to be a big pain because what it did is it emailed them an invoice immediately,
right?
And they had to go on their computer, which let's be honest, everyone's got one right there,
right.
But at that time, I think it made people feel more secure because it's on their computer. They can see the HTTPS secure, and they could pay right there on PayPal, and they did not have to be a member. You could just do it as it went right to their email. They clicked on it, took them right to the page. They entered their credit card info, boom, and that was it. That's how I always did it.
Yeah.
And it was, at the time, it was really easy. Now
seems seamless.
It was at the time. It was. Now obviously they have.
Right.
If you're a retail shop or whatever, you just get the whole little Apple set up, and it's just boop.
Right.
And done.
Right. Well, and so like your customer relationship management system, your CRM.
Yeah. And I didn't have that at the time.
Right.
So.
A lot of those will process credit cards through those systems. Now, they're going to be a little bit more expensive than if you find an outside independent processor. Basically, you're paying for convenience of being able to process it right inside your CRM.
The standard's 3%, right? Still?
Yeah. So it's a pretty common one.
What's yours?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you use?
Yeah, so we use a company called Basys, BASYS, and they are an independent processor. They basically link up with your bank, and they link up with our QuickBooks and everything. And so when we process credit cards, we do it outside of our CRM. Like there's a little tab to collect for this, like as they paid by check or by cash. And so we do credit card offline is technically what it's labeled as. And then we open up our app on our phones and then run it through there. Basys will use these little credit card swipers called Clover Go's. You can buy them for like $80 to $100 on Amazon. They're not waterproof, which sucks for a plumber because I've lost 3 of them so far. So I put it in my pocket.
Of course you have.
Our uniform shirts have pockets right here, and I just keep it on me at all times. Well, then I'll bend over.
Why don't you just leave it in the van?
Out.
It takes 2 seconds to
walk
out there.
I need to, but
it's 2 seconds to walk out there.
Your brain's working, man.
It is today.
Bend
I think
over
finally I'm starting to get back in the groove here.
It'll fall in a tub of water, like a bathtub full of water, or a toilet, like real fast.
Dude, I've dropped my phone in a toilet at a customer's house before, and it wasn't because I was working on it. I went to the bathroom and dropped my phone in their toilet.
Yeah. That
was the end of that phone, just like that.
Those Clover Go's, they're like $80 or $90. So you buy that, and then that lets you Bluetooth connect it to your phone. You run the credit card, and so the way that ours works with Basys is we pay a percentage above. So they're basically getting like a flat markup. a lot of companies will do like a fixed percent, like 3% or 4%.
That's what most of them are.
Right. And so those companies are winning on some of the cards that only charge 1.5%.
Yeah.
And so they're winning more. So we basically pay a markup on every charge. So and it's a fixed markup. So if the card is a 2% card and then their markup's a 0.5 point, we're paying 2.5 on that card.
Yeah.
If their card's a 1% card, we're only paying 1.5 on that one. So every month I've ran it, we average about 2 to 2.3% on our credit card stuff.
So let me ask you, are you paying that, or do you pass that along?
So some credit card processing companies will swipe that percentage right off the transaction. I don't like that method. And here's why. Your accounting, if you make it $100 sale, your accounting software is looking for $100.
Yeah.
Right? So
you have to go in there and GL code it differently.
Right. If your credit card processing company takes their 3% right off the top of that and leaves you with 97, well, now your QuickBooks is going, wait, this was a $100 sale. Why did you only give me $97? Right?
Yeah.
So that's a problem. The way Basis does it, and I love this, is they keep track of a whole billing cycle's worth of credit cards, and then they automatically yank the money out of our bank account, which I don't mind. They'll automatically yank the credit card fees out of our bank account, and it becomes a processing fee, a cost of business, but it's a monthly cost. Instead of trying to subtract that cost from every tiny little transaction, it's one big hit. And so, we may see a $300 credit card processing fee, but I would much rather have that than $100 $3 credit card processing.
Well, and that
fees.
makes it easier on your bookkeeping.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
So when you at the end of the month, when you go into all these softwares have, basically it's a checking account.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what that software is tabulating that as it goes. Well, it's a lot easier to, instead of every week to have to go in there and put $3, $6. At the end of the month, it says on there, charges, finance charges, 3%, whatever, and then the lump sum one time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, so like when just as far as like one-man shops and small businesses go, when I started out, I just told people up front, like I didn't need it. I just told them, look, I'll take whatever you want.
Yep.
I said, I'm adding 3%. Okay. And when I first started out, that 3% didn't seem like a lot, but it was a lot to me.
Yeah.
So after I started going, obviously I was able to carry that through. That's just a personal choice you have to make.
Yeah.
Like the way I did it in my software was I would just put it right on the invoice.
Yeah.
I would say credit card charge, and I would just write, like it would say the, HVAC charge, say it was $100, and then, 3%, $3.
Right.
And then on my deal, I wrote on there, paid $103. Well, then I would go into my GL coding system, and I would write finance charge $3.
Yep.
I did it every month.
Yeah.
So I would sit there, and looking back, it was ridiculous, but I would have them all out, and on this invoice, I'd write $3, 0, 3.
Yeah.
And then so I would put in my general ledger, okay, finance charges for credit card use, $147, and I would debit that.
Yeah.
So that when the accountant got it, it all equaled out.
And that's still a very difficult way to do it.
And it was extremely difficult. That's my point here.
Yeah.
They make it a lot easier now. So if you're gonna do that, it's easier to do it the way Mitch was talking about.
Yeah.
Having it do it right in your software
one
and
big
do
fee.
it that way
Yeah.
instead of the way I was doing it.
Yeah. And again, you don't think that 3% is very much or 2% is very much.
It's a lot.
Until
It can be a lot.
Yeah, until I'm like looking at the books and it's like, dang, Basis just took $2,000 out of our checking account today.
Yeah.
Like,
do you ever think about charging customers for that?
so we do, but we don't separate it out. Basically,
you just
basically, I took all of our prices, every single price for every single repair in the book, and I cranked it up by 3%, knowing that our credit card processing fees hover in the low 2s.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're covered.
So I cranked every repair up 3%, and I actually make extra money when people pay cash or by check. So. And again, I'm the guy that's like, please don't pay cash. Because now I have to drive that to the bank, and that costs me a whole lot more in time than the 3% credit card check or credit card processing fee would be. So, but yeah, guys, you can check out Basis and it doesn't even have to be.
There's a ton of them.
There's
and
a
I think
ton of them
PayPal
on there.
now. I think theirs is pretty streamlined, and I think they've lowered it. from 3.
Well,
I think it was 3% when I did it. Now I think it's like 2.7 or 2.5.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think they've lowered it.
Square is probably, I don't want to throw Square
Is
under
Square
the bus.
still out there?
They're still out there, and they're probably among the higher percentages, but they're not really designed for official businesses. They're more going to be designed for the people doing like the multi-level marketing type stuff, or like little pop-up sales on the weekends, something like that. So
well, it's super convenient, and for people that aren't doing a lot, it's real user friendly.
Yeah,
it's real convenient, and it's when you're talking 10 transactions a month, it's
when
not
you're
a big
talking
deal.
transactions,
They're kind of like the side hustle way to do it.
Exactly. And so that is another thing to bring up, though. Some of those processing softwares or credit card processing systems, they're going to have a per transaction fee as well.
Yeah.
So if whatever you're selling, if you sell a lot of transactions at a small amount, that's going to eat you alive, right? Whereas ours, there is no per transaction fee. It's just a percentage. But most of our repairs are several $100s.
Yeah,
so
you're not charging someone $6.
Now we can do, I mean, at our current staffing level, we can do 10 or 12 credit card processing transactions a day, but it just kind of depends. So you got to look at that for your business on, is it going to be a per transaction thing or a percentage thing or both or whatever. So, guys, I think that unless you got anything to add on credit card processing.
That's all I got, man.
All right. So I think
That's what I did.
I think that wraps up our quick draw show for today. Again, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and share the show with somebody else who may want to hear it. If you are perusing around social media on your Facebook groups or whatever you're in for your trade, and you hear people wanting to start their own company, please do us a favor and tag us at Podcast The Void, or on Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to tag us on that kind of stuff. Because
what's our question email again?
if you have questions and you want to send those into the show, it's askmitch@mitchsmedley.com. So, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're asking me. You can ask Dave.
Yeah, you can ask me. Ask Marcus a question.
Yeah.
All the answers.
Marcus, hey, what's it like working with those two dipshits?
Yeah, Marcus,
Ask
why don't they
whatever
ever
you want.
let you on camera?
Let me.
So, the question email, askmitch@mitchsmedley.com. So, again, that wraps up our show for today. So, until next week, guys, we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys. Love you.